Hello guys and welcome back to Ask Nobbins, the weekly Q&A show where you lovely human beings submit your questions for me to answer. We had a lot of this going on as I smashed my mic, a lot of this going on last week with the questions, some very odd ones. We've got some very good questions this week from a lot of very lovely people, so let's get straight into it. We're kicking things off with Samask 13.6. In the back end of the treble season, Ake and Grealish had great chemistry on that left side. Do you think Ait-Nouri and Marmoush can replicate that next season? Absolutely, yes. This is similar to a question that was asked a couple weeks ago about whether I thought that, Cancelo and Ait-Nouri, are they similar-ish players? And I concluded no, and this is one of the exact reasons why. You've brought up the Ake-Grealish combination. We can also look at, Gvardiol and Grealish, Gvardiol and Foden, Gvardiol and Doku as well, basically Gvardiol and anyone. The key reason why this can work with Ait-Nouri and Marmoush is because you just need to look at a heat map of Ait-Nouri. If you've never even watched him play, just go look at his heat map and notice where he takes the vast majority of his touches. They tend to be out on that left side. So how does that impact Marmoush? Well, it means that you could technically start him out at left wing, but he's obviously not a winger. We don't want him to be hugging the touchline, getting chalk on his boots or whatever. That is the job potentially of an Ait-Nouri. Not to always be out there, but certainly to provide that width when Marmoush needs it. Ait-Nouri pushes up, false winger system, if you will. Marmoush drops in technically centrally. So it basically allows Marmoush to start from the left side, but access the areas that we all know he would like to exploit and occupy. So yes, there's no reason why they can't have a great connection. It also helps that Ait-Nouri is incredibly gifted technically as well. So there shouldn't be really any problems there with a really nice dynamic relationship between the two. I think I tweeted at the time, the person who is going to be impacted the most positively from the Ait-Nouri signing is Omar Marmoush. I would expect Marmoush to be a lot better next season. And that's saying something because he already looked pretty fantastic from January onwards. I expect him to be even better going into next season. This one's from Sabash. Hello, Nobbins. Hi. Big fan from India. Thank you, matey. Love that from you. Love your videos. That's very kind. Thank you. Do you think the 3-4-3 works for us? So having 3 centre-backs, 2 central midfielders, 2 wing backs, 2 10s, and a striker of Haaland. This is interesting. Now, I'm going to say no, and this is odd because we literally just played a 3-4-3 against Al Ain. So you can say, Nobbins, what on earth are you talking about? It can clearly work. I don't know why I'd make that noise. Why do I not think it would happen? Well, in the first instance, let's consider Pep's overarching systems from when he became the manager of Barcelona. Now, I didn't watch every single Barcelona game in that period, in fairness. However, I cannot for the life of me recall an extended period of time where Pep played 3 at the back off ball. This is the key because we know that, with City, for example, we know that Pep often, nearly all the time, plays a back 3 on ball. It's more about the off ball shape. Pep's never done that consistently with Barca, as I understand it. Never did it consistently with Bayern. In fact, the only time that I can really remember Pep ever using a back 3 with Bayern was in that infamous Champions League exit against Barcelona, where he had a back 3 against the 3 most exciting forwards at the time, Suarez, Neymar, and Messi, and it didn't quite work out. For City, when's he ever gone back 3? Again, only for an extended period of time in the very early days of the 17-18 season when he had both Aguero and Jesus. He was trying to accommodate the 2 of them. And we also had Mendy. That was before the Mendy injury. I think the best example of that was the home game against Liverpool where we battered them 5-0. That was a 3-5-2 that day. I know it's different to a 3-4-3, but the back 3 is the same principle, the same idea there. So I don't think it's going to happen because Pep just historically has not done it on a consistent basis. That leads us to why. Why would that not be the case? I think maybe, perhaps, the key reason would be because with a 3-4-3, generally speaking, you only have 2 players nominally in the centre of the pitch. You have a lot of lovely stuff going on out wide. That's the key advantage of the formation. It's quite reliant on that. But generally speaking, if you want to get through a team using this sort of shape, you really want to focus on the central areas. And we know that Guardiola adores dominating the centre from a numbers perspective. With this shape, in general, unless it's like a really weird Guardiola tweak, you are going to be sacrificing numbers in the middle. And I don't think that Pep would be happy to make that sacrifice. So I think it could logistically work for City. Under Guardiola, I really can't see it happening based on that midfield philosophy. This one is from Megamind, and it's about City's title rivals. How do you feel about our chances of winning the league this coming season? Is Liverpool's transfer activity a concern because they appear to be favourites to retain the title? There is a world where Liverpool sign Isak. I don't think it will happen, but there is a world where that does happen. I know he's their main target. If that does indeed happen, then I would be very, very, very concerned about City's title chances next season, and I would predict Liverpool to win the title. You maybe go, well, they've lost Trent now, so that's quite a big creative hub that's gone there. Yes, but they've replaced him in a very good way with Wirtz, and actually I would say an even better way, because one of my biggest issues with Trent has been that he's obviously a wonderful creator, of course. Fundamentally, I don't think it's wise to have your best creative player out at right back in general. It's obviously worked for Liverpool historically with Trent being at the club. But I think generally speaking, you want your creators not to be your defenders. You want them to be more advanced on the pitch. It just makes a lot more sense also from a rest defense perspective as well. It wouldn't surprise me if Liverpool actually got better compared to last season, the season just gone. If the transfer window closed now, so Liverpool have done all their business and City have done all their business, and that's not the case. But based on what's happening now, I would back City to win the title based on the signings that we have brought in, based on Rodri coming back, based on hopefully players like Foden, Haaland, etc. coming back to the form that we know they are capable of. If Liverpool do more than sign, it's Cherki at left back and Wirtz, if they bring in this demon forward player as well, then I think that we would struggle unless we went mental and signed like the perfect option out at right back. There's a question on right backs later as well, so that becomes relevant later. We would need to do more. You'll notice I'm not really mentioning Arsenal. They've not really moved me yet in respect to their transfer business. That remains to be seen. TBC on Arsenal. Who knows? Maybe the Arsenal have got something in store for me. I don't know. That's a bit of a cop-out answer. We are going to just have to wait and see. If they bring in Isak, I'm going to say that the best City can hope for is to challenge them, unless there is a massive fall-off from one of their star players. But right now, hey, anything can happen. Speaking of anything that could happen, I'll tell you what should be happening, and that is you. Yeah, you. I'm talking right to you right now, you little swine. What you're probably called Michael or something. You should be following me over on Twitch to witness excellent gameplay like this.
Okay.
You okay, mate?
Have mercy.
Oh my God, he's dead. What an idiot. Oh, come here, mate. Twitch.tv/LNobbins every single evening on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. I'll see you there, or else, Michael. We've got a question here from Sub who asks, what do you think about Foden as an 8? Do you think a midfield of Rodri, Reinders, Foden, Cherki could potentially be the best in the world if Foden probably grows into that 8 role? I don't know how long I've been banging this drum, actually. I was going to say I've been banging this drum for however long, but I don't know the exact specifics of when I've been saying this. Yes, definitely, though. I actually think that Foden's probably ceiling position, role, whatever you want to say, is actually probably as an 8. Now, why do I think that? Because people associate, certainly based on his PFA Player of the Year season, they associate him with being this player who's far more active, in like the final third, whether it's due to creation, whether it's due to scoring himself, whether it's to do with like little layoffs, whether it's to do with like, connecting play in that final third. And he's obviously got all of that and more to his game. But my favourite Foden performances have always been when he's been able to drop slightly deeper and get more involved in the overall play, essentially. There is a direct correlation between the amount of touches that Foden gets and the results that City get as well. Essentially, if Foden sees a lot of the ball, City win. That's a very basic, reductive summation of it, but that is the bare bones of it. That is the black and white of it. Are you going to get more touches in a slightly deeper position as more of an 8 or as a more advanced player as a 10? We all know the answer to that. I would rather do that. The best examples I can think of, the example I can think that I always go to, so apologies if you heard this a million times, the Everton game away from home in the season where he won Player of the Year. And there's other examples as well, like the Real Madrid game at home, the West Ham game on the final day of the season as well, where he's allowed to play in a slightly deeper position. I would personally love to see that. And I think that, thank you to the viewer who sent me this article, Pep has even potentially alluded to something like this. He's basically said we might need to think of like a slightly deeper position for Foden, because obviously with Cherki coming in, that's another 10. We've got Ait-Nouri, who's this 10. Oscar Bob has been playing out wide, but he's also like this more 10 type player. Foden is so wonderfully versatile that maybe Guardiola is actually looking to play a slightly deeper position. And I actually think that would be to his benefit. I think that he would absolutely be able to do that. Are there some off-ball concerns? Perhaps. But like David Silva played as an 8 for City for many years, and he's never been regarded as a defensive workhorse or whatever. Foden is always at the absolute top list in respect of like the pressing metrics, for example. Is he great at 1v1 duels or whatever? No, I'm not for one moment saying he's as good defensively as Reinders, who is good defensively, but Reinders' defensive numbers are pretty shocking, and yet he's very defensively competent. I would love to see personally a midfield three of Rodri, Reinders and Foden off ball. You can't convince me that is not defensively secure. And then that gives you loads of options in possession. And yeah, I totally agree. That would definitely be the best midfield in the world. And you could even have it, if you say, no, Nobbins, you're a twat, you're an idiot, he can't play as an 8, I would still say you could definitely have a box midfield of Rodri, Reinders, Foden, Cherki, just as Foden, Cherki as the double 8-10s. So either or, if you want him as an 8 or a 10, I would still conclude the answer to that question is yes. I've got one last question here from Bo. You know what to do, guys. If you have enjoyed the video, you need to tell me you've enjoyed the video by leaving a like on said video. If you want to leave a comment with your future question, leave it in the comment section. If you just want to help me out and don't actually have a question, just comment something like commenting for the algorithm, just cause, yeah, and then I'll know that you love me, and then we can kiss or something, yeah? Wouldn't that be cute? Or weird? I don't know. Anyway, final question of the video from Bo. If we don't sign an overlapping right back, is it realistically possible to see all 4 of Cherki, Foden, Rodri and Reinders? I feel like the false winger system is needed to accommodate all of them. This is a really good question, and it sort of links back to the question from before as well, because against that Cherki, Foden, Rodri, Reinders situation. Can all 4 of those play together without an overlapping right back? Objectively, the answer is yes, but with a massive caveat, because the only way you could play these 4 realistically is to not play Marmoush, and I'm not willing to not play Marmoush for the most part. I say for the most part because when people have these conversations about starting lineups, it's worth considering that City play 60 plus games in a season. So when we're saying, oh, he's not going to get into the starting 11, there's very few players who are going to be like absolute lock-ins. Obviously whoever the goalkeeper is, Rodri, Haaland, Guardiola, there are very few lock-in names, I think. So we have to consider that in the first instance. So this could definitely work for some games without Marmoush, but in general, I want Marmoush to start in addition to these guys. How does one achieve that? The only way to achieve it is with this overlapping right back. This is why I said before the transfer window even opened, outside of the obvious midfield rebuild that we need to do, it's lovely we've signed a left back, but right back for me is a much bigger priority. The only attacking right back we currently have is Matheus Nunes, who has always got a goal mistake in him. He's always got an error leading to a goal in him. I like Nunes, don't want to sound like I'm having a go. We do need a big upgrade there, in my view. I don't want Nunes to be starting 30 plus games in the Premier League. I think that would be a massive mistake. For the highest ceiling starting 11, for what I want to see all of Cherki, Foden, Rodri, Reinders, Marmoush, and you can absolutely accommodate all of those at the same time. And in fact, I'm going to change the wording of that statement. It's nothing to do with you can accommodate. I would actually argue it is optimal to do so long as you have the correct left back, you have the correct right back. Great questions this week. Thank you everyone so much for watching. Stay tuned because there will be another Ask Nobbins next week. And hopefully by the end of this week, there will be a Cherki analysis video. So make sure you've got your notifications switched on by touching that bell. Thank you to the beautiful members of the Hall of Fame. If you want to join this illustrious group of people, then click that join button now to support the channel and get access to some wonderful perks at the same time. Thank you guys very much for watching as always, and I'll catch you next time.